Today, I had to go to Mangalore from Bangalore and I had to go alone. Then I thought, why don't I convert this journey into a range test video? So today's episode is going to be BYD E6, sort of a range test. Hello everyone, welcome to the Green and Clean YouTube channel. My name is Vittal. BYD E6 is actually discontinued everywhere, and the new BYD E6 is the one that has replaced this car. But this car has the same, almost the same platform, same battery, and everything as BYD E6, but E6 has a lot more features and slightly upgraded car. So maybe it is useful to just check the range of this car, which might help the BYD E6 buyers, or if you just want to know range about BYD cars, what they promise and what they deliver. Now, this car is not new to me. I've been driving it for past 16 months, so I have a fair idea what range to expect, obviously. But I haven't done an exclusive video or a calculated range test like this, right? So that's what I'm going to try today. Actually, I'm going to Mangalore via Mysore because the regular routes are not good. So it's going to be around 410 kilometers from the point I'm starting. So that's the journey we are going to do today. And I am pretty sure this battery will last the entire trip, and it's just a question of how much battery will remain. My guess is at least 15% battery should remain when I reach Mangalore. So, but we will see as we go along. One thing to note is that when I go from Bangalore to Mangalore, I'm going down the hill, so I lose elevation. So that means I get a lot of regions. So because of the regenerative braking, it won't consume as much battery while going to Mangalore compared to coming back from Mangalore. I'm also going to shoot the video while coming back from Mangalore to Bangalore. So it will give a very good round trip idea about how much battery this car will consume. Regarding my driving, I'm not going to drive it for a range test, like just to get the best range out of this car. I'm going to drive it normally like how I drive ICE cars, which means AC will be on. Obviously, it's so hot outside, can't drive cars without AC. And then I'm not a very fast driver. I don't go more than 100 kilometers per hour. My usual speed is 80 to 100 if the highway allows. Otherwise, I will just go by the speed of the traffic. So my driving speed will be around between 80 to 100. And the road is like up to from Bangalore to Mysore. After some distance, I'll get expressway, so that will be good. Those are expressway, and then after Mysore to Mangalore, it's going to be two-way roads. So it is going to be different when you do range test on a fast highway versus a two-way state highways, right? So we will see how it goes. Before I start, I want to give you a quick look at the MID. So as you can see, it is I've charged 100% battery at home, so it's home charging 100%, and it shows there right over here 500 kilometers of range, and trip A is set to reset, so it starts at 0. The way I'm going to calculate range is, I just add the remaining range the battery shows plus what is there in trip A, so as I go along. So that's the probably a correct way of estimating the range. So the range can be defined in two ways in this video. The first one is the predicted range, which is adding the distance to empty with the trip A odometer reading. So that will be one kind of range. And then what I would like to call as a extrapolated range, which is just looking at how much battery is consumed and how much distance I have traveled. For example, if trip A says 90 kilometers and the battery left is 80%, then that means I have used 20% battery for 90 kilometers. So it comes to roughly around 450 kilometers of range. But if you calculate what is remaining at 80%, for example, if it is like 400 and then you add the 80 kilometers of trip A, so it will be 480 kilometers is the predicted range. So extrapolated range and predicted range. So these are the things I will be talking about. I will try to stop as much as I can at different points to show you how is it going, and also shoot some videos along the way. It's a pretty hot day. It says 30 degrees centigrade, but it feels a lot hotter than that. So without further ado, let's get started. So far I have driven like 45 minutes and covered only 13 kilometers. This is Bangalore, guys. This is what it is. So there's full of traffic. Usually I don't leave at 11 a.m. in the morning. I leave very, very early so that I can avoid this traffic. But today I had to leave at this time. So I'm still not really started driving. Still just 13 kilometers in 45 minutes. I'll catch you later. Finally, I have reached the Bangalore-Mysore highway expressway. Don't worry, I'm taking this video from a stand. It's pretty safe. I will probably stop over at some point and then explain you rest of the things. As you can see, I'm driving between 80 to 100 kilometers an hour roughly. So just to show you. Okay, I have finally pulled over to the side of the expressway. I've just entered the expressway, but wanted to stop here and show you the statistics. So how does it look like? If you see here, I have driven 34 kilometers so far. Trip A shows 34 kilometers, and the battery remaining is 96%, which means roughly about 5% of the battery I have used to cover 34 kilometers. That's a whole lot, and I don't want to jump in joy because of this, because the LFP batteries usually give the best range at the top 10 or top 20% of the consumption. That means when you go down from 100% to 90% or 80%, that's when the LFP batteries give the best range. And you should not be too much thrilled about it, because as you consume more and more battery, the curve kind of evens out. So if you look at this figure now, almost like for 5% battery, 34 kilometers, and if you translate that, it is more than 650 kilometers of range. But this car is not going to give you 650 kilometers of range. This is not how you calculate real life ranges. I still see some YouTubers who just drive the top 20 or 30% of the battery and try to calculate the range. That's not how it works. Okay, let's try to calculate the predicted range. So the predicted range is 480 kilometers, which is still left in the battery, plus 34 kilometers. So it's roughly about 514 kilometers. Now that sounds like a realistic number, even though it is more than the 500 kilometers this car promises, but it's much better than 650 if you calculate just doing 34 divided by 5%. That's not how you do so. That's why the extrapolated range is not the correct way. I see many YouTubers trying to follow this method. It is not correct, and this is what is the slightly more accurate method. And you can also see the energy consumed for 100 kilometers, around 11.9 kilowatt for 100 kilometers. It's a very good figure, considering that it is quite a hot day and going through a lot of traffic. So I took an hour and 45 minutes to just cover 34 kilometers. That's the reality of Bangalore. Anyway, I'll stop here and let's start driving, and I will cover more videos as we go. So I have reached Mysore now. I will pull over after this signal and explain you where we are with the range. So here's a look at the MID. So I've covered 146 kilometers roughly, and the battery used is 27%. So I still have 73% battery left. So if you add 146 and the remaining range, which is 366, so you are getting roughly 512 kilometers of predicted range. So this car, even after driving for 145 kilometers, discharging 27 batteries, still is delivering more than the 500 kilometer range that it promises on the paper. But will it continue like this? Would we see more than 500 kilometers all the way? That we will have to wait and see. And if you look at the energy consumption for 100 kilometers, it is around 14.2 kilowatt hour for 100 kilometers. Again, this is very good. This will ensure that you get more than 500 or close to 500 kilometers of real life range. I didn't really drive very slowly just to get more range. I was driving between 90 and 100. It's an expressway. You can't really drive slow. I mean, the speed limit itself is 100 kilometers. So I was driving normally like how all the cars were driving. The AC was on at 21 degrees. Fan speed is 3. And you can see here altitude is 727 meters now. So this is the figures. Now, if you try to do the math for extrapolation of the range, so 27% of battery for 145 kilometers of range, and if you do the math, it is again way over 500. But that's not the correct way of calculating. The predicted range as of now is still more than 500 kilometers, 512 kilometers, and that's what is important. I'm going to pull over, have some lunch, and my next stop would be probably at Madikeri, which is about 100 kilometers from here. Madikeri is the point where I start the descent, so I want to show you the figures when I reach Madikeri. See you there. Okay, I have reached Madikeri. As you can see, it is a little bit dark even though it's just 5:20 p.m. and let's look at the numbers. So the battery remaining is 45 percentage, which means I have consumed 55% to cover 264 kilometers, which is not bad, but it is not as good as how it all started. So if you want to check the predicted range, so 226 kilometers remaining on the battery plus 264, so roughly around 490 kilometers, which is still very good for after driving for 55% of the battery. After driving 265 kilometers, the predicted range is still 490 kilometers. You can see that the power consumption for 100 kilometers is 16 kilowatt hour, which is slightly more, and that the reason for that is this. So I'm 1200 meters above the sea level, which means I have climbed nearly 400 meters from Mysore, and that's the reason I've consumed more battery. But now I will be starting the descent down the Ghats section. We will see how it looks. So let's take a look at these numbers: 1183 meters and 45 percentage battery remaining. And as soon as I go down the Ghat and hit the plains, I will stop and show you the figures. Okay, I have descended down the Ghat section. As you can see, I am near Sampaje. So Mangalore is 109 kilometers from here. And if you see here, now my altitude is 157 meters. So nearly 900 to 1000 meters of descent I've had. And what does it affect on the battery? As you can see, it is 47% now. That means I have regenerated 2% battery. And look at that power figure, 5.7 kilowatt for 100 kilometer. And let's calculate the predicted range, right? So 292 plus 200. So I have covered 292 kilometers and the remaining range is 235 kilometers. So again, I am nearly about 520 kilometers of predicted range. And all of that is because of the descent. And also the temperature was around 22 degrees when I got down from the Madikeri Ghats. So that also would have helped. But what I want to say here is that that's the thing about EVs. When you go down the hill, when you come down the elevation, you regenerate batteries. And people only talk about how the batteries get consumed when you go uphill. Yeah, fair enough. When you go uphill, you will consume more battery, but you will gain it back when you come back on the same route. So that's the thing. So the energy is obtained again. I was actually expecting 5% regeneration, but maybe I was driving a little bit aggressive because I have lost a lot of time because of traffic along the route. So I was driving a little bit aggressive, and you can see the regen mode there, which says standard in the green color. So I'm driving at the least regen mode because I don't like this highest regen settings. Then the car will apply too much brake for my liking when I take the foot off the accelerator. So I don't prefer that. I mostly use standard regen, and as you can see, it also gives a very good range. So I am 109 kilometers from Mangalore. So what I will do is the next stop will be after I reach the destination Mangalore, and we can see what is the range. But already the numbers look very, very good. So I am looking at 520 kilometers of real life range. Okay, have a look at this figure on the energy meter. I don't know if you can see, it's 2.8 kilowatt for 100 kilometers. That's crazy. And I'm still at 42% battery, and effectively I've driven 3% battery for, I don't know, maybe 60, 70 kilometers. That's the thing. Okay, finally I've reached Mangalore, and let's see what we have got. As you can see here, I have traveled a total of 396 kilometers, and the battery consumed is 74%. So 26% battery is still remaining, and I was able to cover almost 400 kilometers in 74% battery. That's really phenomenal, and I am actually surprised at getting such a good range. Maybe because I was alone in the car, and also I've got a region of some 30-40 kilometers. But in spite of that, I think this is a very, very good practical range on BYD E6. If you see here, if you want to see the predicted range, as per my calculation, it is 396 plus 131 kilometers. So I still have 131 kilometers of range left despite traveling so much. So it is roughly about how much? 527 kilometers is the range. That's unreal. Well, I'm going to stop here because I can't take further. I will stop this range test at 26%, and what I'm going to do is go and charge the battery, and tomorrow I'm going to start again from Mangalore to Bangalore, probably the same route, and we'll see what happens, because this time we are climbing the Ghats section, so we are bound to get less range, but how less we will see. I had recharged the battery yesterday and had to cover a few distance yesterday, so that's why it's showing as 98%. So I'm starting with the SOC of 98%, and you can see it says predicted range is 492 plus 4.7, so 496.7 kilometers. Due to some reason, I only filled it up to 99% because there was another guy waiting for charging at the place where I went. So I just thought I'll not make him wait because I'm already 99%. So I'm not starting from 100%. So 98% is our starting point today. have reached the destination. I didn't record every single stage of this journey, but you can see 413 kilometers driven and only 7% battery remaining. If you remember, we started at around 98%, so it took 91% battery to cover 413 kilometers. This is primarily because we were coming uphill, right? So if you remember, Mangalore to Bangalore is uphill. So the range is not as great as you can see in the previous journey, but the predicted range is 413 plus 34, so 447 kilometers, even with a uphill kind of a climb. So that's the mileage, that's the range that you are looking at. So, is there a secret recipe to get this kind of range in this car? Well, not really. All I can say is that I keep the region to the minimum when I go on highways, because what I feel is, on highways you can cruise your car or coast your car in such a way that you get maximum range. If you switch on the region to the maximum mode on highways, then the moment you take the accelerator, it takes away all the power, all the momentum that you have gained, and then you have to again press the accelerator back to gain that momentum. So that's why I think you should keep the region to the minimum when you are going on highways, but keep it large or maximum when you are in the city range. So that's first tip. The second tip is just to drive with soft pedals. No sudden acceleration, no sudden brakes either. You will be surprised to know that the number one enemy of fuel efficiency is brake. Yes, it is brake, whether it is ICE engine or EV cars. So you should drive it in such a way that you don't have to apply sudden brakes. So if you see a vehicle in front of you, you know there is something in front of you, just slow down, take your foot off the accelerator, wait for the car to slow down, and then maybe you don't have to press the brakes before you overtake or maneuver that vehicle in front of you. So that's the trick I use. Soft pedals, very less region, and not really rushing into acceleration. I do drive fast. It's not that I drive below 80 to get maximum range for this video, but I gain 0 to 90 or 100 more gradually than just pushing the accelerator. So that's really the trick. Nothing really substantial that I want to share about how to get maximum range. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode. It's been a long one. I hope you have enjoyed it. See you again in other episodes of GreenNClean YouTube channel.